Ever had a dream so vivid it felt more real than reality, or a moment of clarity where everything suddenly made sense? According to an ancient Tibetan text, these experiences might be more significant than you think. They could be glimpses into the nature of consciousness itself. The Bardo Thödol, or Tibetan Book of the Dead, describes a series of transitional states or bardos that we experience after death and throughout our lives. It suggests that recognizing the true nature of these states is the key to liberation. But if that's true, why aren't we all enlightened already? Let's find out, because the answer might surprise you about what we think we know about reality. Picture this. A hidden Himalayan cave, untouched for centuries. Ancient scrolls wait inside, their secrets preserved by time and isolation. This is the legendary origin of one of Buddhism's most enigmatic texts. Enter Padmasambhava, the 8th century tantric master known as the Precious Guru. Invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, Padmasambhava had a mission: bring Buddhism to a land steeped in shamanic practices and animist beliefs. But he had a long game in mind. Padmasambhava made a prophecy. He said some of his most profound teachings weren't meant for his time. Instead, they'd remain hidden until the world was ready to receive them. He believed certain wisdom was too advanced for 8th century Tibet. So he tucked away these sacred texts in caves, lakes, and even in the minds of future disciples. This practice of hiding spiritual treasures is called terma in Tibetan Buddhism. It's like a cosmic time capsule. Masters would conceal teachings, rituals, and sacred objects, trusting they'd be discovered by the right person at the right time. These hidden treasures could be physical texts, visions, or memories implanted in the minds of future treasure revealers called tertons. Fast forward about 600 years. A 14-year-old boy named Karma Lingpa stumbles upon a cache of hidden texts. Among these dusty scrolls is none other than the Bardo Thödol, what we now call the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The Bardo Thödol isn't your typical religious scripture. It's a guide for navigating the most profound journey we'll ever take, the transition between death and rebirth. The text describes vivid states of consciousness, encounters with peaceful and wrathful deities, and the ultimate chance for liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Is this just some elaborate myth? Well, whether you take the story literally or see it as a powerful metaphor, the impact of the Bardo Thödol is undeniable. It emerged at a time when Tibet was grappling with complex philosophical ideas and the integration of Buddhism with local spiritual practices. The discovery of the Bardo Thödol represented the fulfillment of Padmasambhava's prophecy, a bridge between ancient wisdom and a world that was finally ready to receive it. This text became a cornerstone of Tibetan Buddhist practice, offering hope and guidance to both the living and the dead. We've got a legendary master, hidden caves, prophetic visions, and a teenage discoverer. But the real mystery lies in the contents of the Bardo Thödol itself. What exactly does this ancient text tell us about the nature of death, consciousness, and reality itself? Let's find out. What if I told you that death isn't the end, but a gateway to a bizarre in-between world? The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes a realm where your mind creates both heaven and hell. Most of us will pass through this cosmic space without even realizing it. This is the Bardo, a state of existence after death and before rebirth, where the rules of reality get a bit fuzzy. Imagine waking up, but your body's nowhere to be found. That's what it's like in the Bardo. In Tibetan Buddhism, it's the state of consciousness that occurs between death and your next reincarnation. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, if I'm dead, how can I be conscious? Good question. The Bardo challenges our usual ideas about consciousness and identity. In Buddhism, there's this concept called non-self, or anatta. It suggests that what we think of as our permanent, unchanging self is actually an illusion. In the Bardo, this becomes crystal clear as you experience consciousness without a physical body. But here's where it gets really wild. The Bardo isn't just one uniform experience. It's more like a series of stages, each with its own flavor of weirdness. The length of time you spend in the Bardo can vary wildly. Some traditions say it lasts 49 days, but others suggest it could be as short as a moment or as long as several years. So what does a consciousness actually experience in this space? Well, that's where things get really interesting. The Bardo Thödol describes a series of visions, ranging from blissful to terrifying. But here's the crucial part. These visions aren't coming from some external source. They're projections of your own mind, shaped by your karma and your deepest fears and desires. Imagine your most vivid dream, where everything feels intensely real. Now multiply that by 1,000. That's the Bardo. You might encounter peaceful deities bathed in radiant light, or terrifying, wrathful beings that make your worst nightmares look tame. But remember, it's all you. It's like your mind decided to turn itself inside out and project all its contents onto a cosmic screen. This is why the Bardo is such a crucial moment. It's a chance for potential liberation from the cycle of rebirth, if you can recognize these visions for what they are. But it's also a time of great danger. If you react with fear or attachment to these mental projections, you could find yourself drawn back into another round of rebirth, missing your chance at enlightenment. The Bardo Thödol isn't just describing these states, it's actually a guidebook for navigating them. It's meant to be read to the dying and recently deceased, like a cosmic GPS helping you navigate the twists and turns of the afterlife. But even for the living, understanding the Bardo can offer profound insights into the nature of mind and reality. So, we've got this wild realm where consciousness floats free. Time stretches like silly putty, and your own mind becomes the architect of heaven and hell. But how exactly does one journey through this psychedelic afterlife? Let's break down the stages of the Bardo and see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. You've heard of your life flashing before your eyes, but what about the blinding light that appears right after? This phenomenon, known as the clear light, is said to be a chance at enlightenment. But here's the kicker. Most people run from it in terror. Let's explore why this cosmic opportunity is so easy to miss. When you take your last breath, you enter the Chikai Bardo, the moment of death. Your consciousness slips free from your physical body, and that's when things get wild. Imagine a light so bright, so pure, it makes the sun look like a dim bulb. This radiance is your chance to recognize your true nature, what Tibetan Buddhists call Rigpa. If you can grasp this moment, you've hit the cosmic jackpot, instant enlightenment, no more rebirths. But here's the problem. Most of us aren't ready for this light show. You've just died, you're probably freaked out, and now this overwhelming brightness appears. It's like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while falling from an airplane. Not exactly ideal conditions for a spiritual epiphany. Most souls miss this golden opportunity because it's so unfamiliar. We spend our whole lives identifying with our bodies, thoughts, and emotions. Then suddenly, we're faced with the raw nature of mind itself. It's so intense that most people retreat from it in fear, unable to recognize it as their own true nature. Tibetan Buddhist practices aim to prepare you for this moment. Meditation, contemplation, and visualization familiarize you with the nature of mind while you're still alive. They're not just stress relief techniques, they're training for the big moment. If you miss this cosmic bus, your mind starts creating all sorts of projections. It's like your subconscious decided to put on a psychedelic light show, complete with heavenly and terrifying visions. The stakes are high. Recognizing the clear light means liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Missing it means you're in for a wild ride through the rest of the Bardos. So there you have it. The moment of death isn't just an ending, it's a cosmic opportunity, a chance to recognize the true nature of your mind and break free from the cycle of rebirth. But don't worry if you're not feeling ready for this ultimate test. The journey through the Bardos is just beginning, and things are about to get even weirder. Peaceful deities, wrathful monsters, and a whole lot of mind-bending experiences are just around the corner. Let's see what's next on this trippy afterlife adventure. Just when you thought the afterlife couldn't get any stranger, your mind decides to put on the ultimate light show. You're surrounded by beings so beautiful, so pure, you'd swear you've reached paradise. But getting too comfortable in this heavenly realm could be your biggest mistake. Welcome to the Chonyid Bardo, the next stage of your afterlife journey. You've missed the clear light, but your mind's got a backup plan. Enter the peaceful deities, manifestations of the highest aspects of consciousness. These aren't your typical angels with harps. We're talking about radiant beings that embody wisdom and compassion on a cosmic scale. Let's meet some of these celestial celebrities. There's Vairochana, symbolizing the very fabric of reality. Amitabha radiates infinite love. Vajrasattva, Ratnasambhava, Amoga Siddhi, each one represents different qualities of an enlightened mind. It's like your subconscious decided to personify all your best qualities and turn them into a divine, welcoming committee. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds amazing. Sign me up for eternal bliss. Not so fast. Here's where things get tricky. These peaceful deities are projections of your own mind. Recognizing this is crucial for your spiritual progress. If you can see through the illusion, you're one step closer to liberation. But if you get attached to these blissful visions, you're setting yourself up for a cosmic letdown. This is where the Buddhist concept of emptiness, shunyata, comes into play. It teaches that all phenomena, including these divine visions, lack inherent existence. They're more like reflections in a mirror than solid independent entities. Realizing this can be pretty mind-bending, especially when you're face to face with what looks like the embodiment of divinity. So why does your mind create these elaborate visions? Think of it as a sort of spiritual Rorschach test. These deities reflect the highest aspects of your own consciousness, pointing the way towards your true nature. But here's the catch. If you mistake the signpost for the destination, you'll end up stuck. The stakes are high in this phase of the Bardo. If you can recognize these peaceful deities as aspects of your mind, you've got a shot at liberation. But if you react with attachment or aversion, you're setting yourself up for the next phase of the journey. And trust me, it's not all rainbows and light beings. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, saw these visions as representations of the collective, unconscious universal archetypes that exist in all human minds. So encountering these deities is like meeting the highest potential of humanity face to face. But what happens if you can't see through the illusion? What if you get too comfortable basking in the glow of these divine beings? Well, that's when the Bardo decides it's time for a wake-up call. The peaceful deities start to fade, and in their place, something much more unsettling begins to emerge. The wrathful deities are about to make their grand entrance, and they're not here to play nice. But that's a story for another section. For now, let's just say that the afterlife is about to take a turn for the terrifying. Get ready for a wild ride as the Bardo takes a sharp turn into nightmare territory. The peaceful deities fade away, and suddenly you're face to face with beings that make your worst fears look tame. We're talking multi-armed monsters, creatures with animal heads and human bodies, deities that embody chaos and destruction. Your minds raided the costume closet of every horror movie ever made for this terrifying party. Now, your first instinct might be to run screaming. That's totally understandable. These wrathful deities are designed to provoke fear and confusion. They represent all the parts of yourself you've tried to ignore or suppress, your anger, your jealousy, your deepest insecurities. But here's the kicker. Just like the peaceful deities, these frightening beings are also projections of your own mind. They're not here to punish you, but to force you to acknowledge and integrate your shadow self. Let's meet some of these intense characters. There's Mahakala, a form of compassion with multiple arms and a necklace of skulls. Or how about Palden Lamo, a fierce goddess riding a mule through a sea of blood? Each of these deities has a specific symbolic meaning, representing different aspects of enlightened mind expressed in a more intense, transformative way. So how are you supposed to react when faced with these terrifying visions? The Bardo Thödol instructs the deceased to recognize these wrathful deities as aspects of themselves. If you can maintain awareness and not succumb to fear, you can actually transcend these visions. It's like facing your fears head-on, but on a cosmic scale. Here's the wild part. Recognizing and accepting these wrathful deities can actually lead to liberation. It's like embracing your own inner darkness allows you to move beyond it. Carl Jung saw this process as a way of integrating the shadow aspects of the psyche. By acknowledging even the scariest parts of yourself, you become whole. But what if you can't face your fears? What if the terror is just too overwhelming? Well, that's when the Bardo journey continues, leading you deeper into the labyrinth of your own mind. The visions might change, but the challenge remains the same. Can you recognize the true nature of these experiences? Can you see through the illusion to the underlying reality of your own consciousness? As we move forward, remember, in the Bardo, your mind is both the creator and the experiencer of these visions. Whether peaceful or wrathful, these deities are reflections of your own potential for wisdom and transformation. The question is, are you ready to face yourself in all your terrifying glory? Think you've faced your fears and confronted your inner demons? There's one more cosmic challenge waiting, and it might determine your entire future. Imagine standing before a judge who knows every thought you've ever had, every action you've ever taken. What would your life look like reflected in the mirror of karma? Welcome to the next stage of the Bardo journey, where karma takes center stage. In Tibetan Buddhism, karma is a fundamental law of cause and effect that shapes our experiences both in life and after death. And now, in this crucial moment of the Bardo, it's time to face the music. Enter Yama, the Lord of Death. In Tibetan tradition, he's known as Dharma Raja, a powerful figure responsible for judging the deceased. Yama holds up a karmic mirror that reflects the sum total of your actions throughout your life. This isn't your average looking glass. It reveals the true nature and consequences of your actions. Every kind word, every selfish thought, every moment of compassion or cruelty, it's all there, laid bare in cosmic HD. Now you might be wondering how this compares to other afterlife traditions. While there are some similarities, like the Egyptian Book of the Dead's weighing of the heart, the Buddhist concept is unique. There's no eternal heaven or hell waiting for you. Instead, your karma influences your experiences in the Bardo and shapes the conditions of your next rebirth. Here's where it gets really interesting. You're not just a passive observer in this cosmic courtroom drama. The Bardo Thödol emphasizes that this judgment is really a form of self-reflection. You're confronting the reality of your actions and their consequences. It's like the ultimate "this is your life" episode, but with way higher stakes. So what happens next? Well, that depends on you. The experiences you have in the Bardo and the type of rebirth you're drawn towards are all influenced by the karma you've accumulated. If you've lived a life of compassion and wisdom, you might find yourself pulled towards more favorable circumstances. But if your karmic ledger is a bit more complicated, you could be in for a bumpier ride. This karmic reckoning isn't just about tallying up points for good and bad behavior. It's a chance to really understand the interconnected nature of all your actions. Every choice you've made, every interaction you've had, has rippled out into the world in ways you might never have realized. The karmic mirror shows you the full scope of your impact on the world around you. As this phase of the Bardo journey comes to a close, you might be feeling a mix of relief and apprehension. The karmic mirror has revealed truths about yourself that you may never have faced before. But remember, this isn't the end of the story. With judgment past, your soul now faces its next big decision. Where will your karma lead you next? The Bardo is about to take another wild turn. Right now, you're shaping your next life. According to the Bardo Thödol, your current mental state is already influencing your future rebirth. Let's explore the cosmic waiting room where souls linger before their next adventure and discover why your thoughts today matter so much. Welcome to the Sidpa Bardo, the state of seeking rebirth. Picture yourself surrounded by swirling vortexes of potential lives, each calling out with promises of new experiences. But here's the catch. You don't get to consciously choose. Your karma and mental habits are in control now. Breaking a bad habit in life is tough. Now multiply that by 1,000. That's the pull you feel in the Sidpa Bardo. Your mind is drawn towards familiar patterns and karmic attractions, following the grooves you've worn into your consciousness through countless thoughts and actions. Where might you end up? Buddhist cosmology describes 6 realms of existence: gods, jealous gods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell realms. These aren't just physical places, but states of mind. The realm you're drawn to reflects the dominant patterns in your consciousness. Your mental state at the moment of death and during the Bardo journey influences your rebirth. The Bardo Thödol describes visions of couples in union, symbolizing the creation of new life. Your reaction to these visions, driven by your deepest mental habits, pulls you towards a particular rebirth. How can you navigate this cosmic journey? Start preparing now, while you're still alive. Every thought and action is like a vote for your future rebirth. It's about cultivating awareness and positive mental habits that will serve you well when faced with the choice of rebirth. As the Bardo journey nears its end, your consciousness is drawn towards a new life shaped by the sum total of your karma and mental patterns. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? Our current thoughts and actions are already shaping our next life. But is this cycle of death and rebirth inevitable? Or is there a way to step off the cosmic merry-go-round? That's the big question we'll tackle next. Some Buddhist teachings suggest there might be a way to break free from this endless cycle of becoming. Let's find out if enlightenment is really possible, or if we're all just along for the ride. The cosmic merry-go-round keeps spinning, but what if you could step off? That's the promise of liberation in Tibetan Buddhism. It's called moksha, and it's about freeing yourself from the illusions that keep you trapped in samsara. Imagine waking up and realizing everything you thought was real was just a projection of your mind. That's moksha. But breaking free from ingrained mental patterns isn't easy. We're talking about habits reinforced over countless lifetimes. It's like trying to unravel a knot that's been tightening for eons. So how do Tibetan Buddhists prepare? They use meditation techniques that simulate the Bardo experience while they're still alive. One key practice is phowa, or consciousness transference. It's a method of directing your consciousness at the moment of death. They spend years training their minds to recognize the nature of consciousness, so when the big moment comes, they're ready. Now, let's talk about enlightenment. In relation to the Bardo, it means seeing through the illusions of the mind. When you're enlightened, those peaceful and wrathful deities, You recognize them instantly as projections of your own consciousness. No fear, no attachment, just pure awareness. Some Buddhist masters claim they can achieve enlightenment at the moment of death. Imagine facing the clear light and not flinching. Instead of being overwhelmed, you merge with it, recognizing it as your true nature. You've just hit the cosmic escape button. Is it really possible? Tibetan Buddhism says yes, but it's incredibly rare. Most of us will need many lifetimes of practice before we're ready for that final leap. But here's the thing, even if full liberation seems out of reach, these practices can transform your life right now. They're about living more fully, with greater awareness, and less attachment to everyday dramas. The Bardo journey, with all its visions and challenges, leads to this ultimate goal, freedom from the cycle of rebirth. It's a journey that begins long before death and continues long after. And who knows, maybe with enough practice, you'll be ready to step off the cosmic merry-go-round when your time comes. But how did this ancient wisdom make its way from Tibet to the rest of the world? That's a story of adventure, cultural exchange, and some very determined scholars. Let's find out how the Tibetan Book of the Dead became a global phenomenon. Picture this. A chance encounter in India sparks a global spiritual revolution. That's how the Tibetan Book of the Dead began its journey from obscure Buddhist text to worldwide phenomenon. It all started with W.Y. Evans Wentz, an American theosophist passionate about Eastern mysticism. In 1919, Evans Wentz found a collection of Tibetan texts from a British officer returning from Tibet. Among these scrolls was the Bardo Thödol. He knew he'd found something special, but translating this esoteric text was challenging. He partnered with Kazi Dawa Samdup, a Tibetan translator, to bring the book to English-speaking audiences. Their relationship was more business than spiritual, working together for only a couple of months. Evans Wentz played up the guru-disciple angle, but some scholars suggest he might have exaggerated their connection. Translating the Bardo Thödol involved more than just changing words. Evans Wentz had to present these complex concepts to a Western audience. He framed the book to resonate with people interested in theosophy and Western esotericism, transforming a Buddhist practice manual into a spiritual bestseller. By the 1930s and 40s, the Tibetan Book of the Dead had become a spiritual staple in America. People were fascinated by its descriptions of the afterlife and its guide for navigating the bardos. It addressed big questions. What happens after we die? Is there more to reality than what we can see? The book caught Carl Jung's attention. The famous psychologist saw parallels between the bardos and his theories about the unconscious mind. His psychological commentary helped bridge Eastern spirituality and Western psychology. In the 1960s, the book found a new audience. Timothy Leary, the controversial psychologist and advocate for psychedelic drugs, wrote The Psychedelic Experience, based on the Bardo Thödol. He reimagined the Bardo states as stages of a psychedelic trip, creating a cultural mashup of ancient Buddhist wisdom and 60s counterculture. The Tibetan Book of the Dead became a global spiritual classic by tapping into universal curiosity about what lies beyond death and the nature of consciousness. It offered a detailed map of the afterlife that was both mystical and strangely scientific. As the book gained fame in the West, it transformed. The popular version wasn't always true to its Tibetan roots. Some scholars argue that much was lost or added in translation, as if the book went on its own Bardo journey between cultures. How do modern Tibetans feel about their sacred text becoming a New Age bestseller and psychedelic manual? That's another story, raising questions about cultural exchange, appropriation, and the true meaning of spiritual teachings. Let's find out how this ancient wisdom is viewed in its homeland today. Imagine your brain scan mirroring a monk's vision of the afterlife. Sounds wild, right? But some researchers are finding surprising connections between consciousness studies and experiences described in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. What if these hallucinations are more than just misfiring neurons? Near-death experiences have scientists intrigued. People on the brink of death often report vivid, life-changing encounters that bear a striking resemblance to the Bardo states in Tibetan teachings. Bright lights, out-of-body sensations, encounters with energy beings. The similarities are hard to ignore. But studying these subjective experiences in a lab, that's where things get tricky. You can't exactly ask volunteers to die for science. This creates a clash between materialist science and mystical experiences. Some researchers try to explain it all through brain chemistry, while those who've had these experiences insist there's more to it. So what's the science saying? Studies on altered states of consciousness are revealing some interesting parallels. Brain scans of people in deep meditation show patterns surprisingly similar to near-death experiences. It's like the brain enters a state where normal perception boundaries start to break down, kind of like what the Bardo Thödol describes happening after death. Now, let's talk quantum consciousness. It's a wild idea suggesting consciousness might be interconnected with the fabric of reality itself. Pretty out there, right? But these concepts resonate with Buddhist ideas of interconnectedness described in the Bardo Thödol. Studying these experiences scientifically is incredibly challenging. How do you measure something as subjective as a mystical experience? It's not like there's a probe for enlightenment levels. This really pushes the limits of our current scientific methods. We're seeing a convergence of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science that would have seemed impossible not long ago. As research continues, who knows what we might discover? Maybe we'll map Bardo states in the brain, or realize consciousness is even stranger than we imagined. But here's the big question. What does this ancient wisdom mean for our everyday lives? How can understanding the Bardo change the way we live right now? Let's find out how these teachings might shake up your perspective on life, death, and everything in between. What if I told you that an ancient Tibetan text about death could be the key to living a more fulfilling life? The Bardo Thödol, often called the Tibetan Book of the Dead, contains powerful teachings that can transform how we approach life's challenges. Let's explore how these ancient ideas apply to our modern world. Life is full of transitions, starting a new job, ending a relationship, moving to a new city. These moments can be disorienting, even scary. But the Bardo teachings offer a unique perspective on navigating change. They emphasize recognizing the nature of your mind and reality, which translates to developing awareness of your thoughts and emotions in daily life. Now you might be thinking, how is contemplating death supposed to make my life better? Good question. By accepting the reality of death, you free yourself from many fears and attachments that hold you back. It's like hitting the reset button on your priorities. The Bardo teachings describe how to recognize projections of your own mind. In everyday life, this means understanding how your perceptions and beliefs shape your reality. Are you constantly worried about what others think of you? That's your mind creating its own little realm of anxiety. Recognizing this can be incredibly freeing. There are practical ways to apply these ideas. One technique involves treating each transition in your day as a moment to practice awareness. Another approach is facing your fears head-on, just like confronting the wrathful deities described in the Bardo. The next time you're anxious about something, try visualizing it as a terrifying figure. By seeing your fear as a projection of your own mind, you can start to diffuse its power over you. Think about how often we distract ourselves from the present moment. We're constantly scrolling, streaming, doing anything to avoid sitting with our thoughts. The Bardo teachings encourage us to do the opposite, to fully experience each moment, knowing it's temporary. Imagine approaching your day with the same intensity as if it were your last. How would that change your interactions with others, your appreciation for simple pleasures, your willingness to take risks and pursue your dreams? That's the transformative power of living with an awareness of death. By embracing these teachings, you're not just preparing for death, you're learning to live more fully right now. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth, every transition a chance for awakening. The Bardo Thödol offers more than guidance for dying. It's a roadmap for truly living. As we wrap up our journey through the Bardo Thödol, it's clear this ancient text offers profound insights into the nature of mind and reality. Its enduring influence speaks to our universal search for meaning in the face of death. But here's the thing. The wisdom of the Bardo Thödol isn't just for monks in Tibetan monasteries or for after we die. It's for all of us, right here, right now. Every moment of your life is like a little bardo, a chance for awakening. That transition between work and home, that moment of fear or uncertainty, these are opportunities to practice awareness and recognize the projections of your own mind. The teachings encourage us to wake up to the true nature of reality in our everyday experiences. So as you go about your day, remember, every breath, every thought, every interaction is a potential gateway to deeper understanding. The Bardo Thödol offers us tools to navigate not just the afterlife, but the complexities of our current existence. Are you ready to see how deep this wisdom goes? The journey of awakening is happening right now, in this very moment.